thank you all for coming. This is my 4th time speaking at NFT.NYC. I'm Peg Samuel. And I wanted to just kind of do a quick so we could, because we're like, give us all the time. We could talk if other people don't show up, like all that. But I want to just kind of qualify the room too so we can make sure that we're speaking to you where you're at. Obviously, we're at an NFT event, but like, raise your hand if you have one NFT. Just one.
Or more.
And now raise your hand if you have 51 NFTs or more. Fantastic. And then
That's a great number.
How long have you all been in the space? Like, just throw out some years here. 2014? 17? 2020? And then how many of you like do stuff in the metaverse and stuff just as a user? Okay, amazing.
It's a great room. I love it.
This is a cool room, so we can really dig in. So I'm Peg Samuel. This, like I said, this is the 4th time me speaking at NFT.NYC. I currently work at a company called MetaJuice, and what we are is the blockchain arm of an app called IMVU, IMVU. And what's cool about it when I came on to work there is we have upwards of 750,000 daily active users, and 67% of them are women. And then we have 1 million crypto wallets as we were onboarding people into blockchain. And the numbers still track that it's still 67% women in the wallets. So I like to say that we onboard the most women into the metaverse and crypto. So like when we're talking about education and onboarding, it's really exciting to me. I'll let my panelists,
That's impressive.
Thanks.
Holy. My name is Danielle. I'm also known as NFTignition in the space. I have been working on projects since 2020, and that amount of time I have worked on 34 projects, most known for Fame Lady Squad, which also aims to onboard more women into the space. But I will say our numbers are not 67%. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, even a project whose main goal is to bring women into the space, we haven't gotten that high. So that's really impressive.
Yeah.
Good job with that. But yeah, I used to be a teacher. I'm a published author. I'm very passionate about NFTs and AI and safety, security, education, onboarding. You know, we are really so far off from mass adoption. Just the fact that we use the word onboarding is a red flag, right? Like, you don't onboard people into gaming. You don't onboard people into AI or social media. Where do you onboard people? Jobs, right? Like, that's how much work it is for people to get into the space right now. At some point, it won't be like that, but you know, people creating this education and getting us to that point is what I'm really passionate about.
Cool. So I'm Mark Schutt. Been in the space for about 4 years now. I have a startup called Web3 Ready that helps educate and onboard both everyday individuals and brands. Aside from that, I wear a couple of other hats in the space. I'm the director of education for a company called Web3 Texas. I also work for Texas Blockchain Council as a writer and contributor there. And I do all the marketing and business growth for a company called T Assets, which tokenizes real-world assets like real estate onto the blockchain. So I'm excited to be here. This is my 4th professional experience or talk. So I'm excited to kind of talk about these things with onboarding and education, because in my opinion and my perspective, this is something everybody talks about. And you know, you go to any other panel here or talk, and people talk about education, but no one clearly defines what that means or what that looks like, especially in this new space. It's rapidly changing all the time. So I'm excited to get into this.
You know what it reminds me of? So I've been education, and like even when I entered my career, like stuff I do now obviously wasn't taught at college, right? And even when I've taught at NYU, and I'm talking about like metaverses classes there, but I almost also had some in my years like these other classes about like Excel or this or whatever. But we were talking about this a little bit, I think it was yesterday or the day before, about like maybe even who to trust in terms of education?
Yeah. I mean, we tell people don't Google things, right? Like, you can't trust anything you find on Google, but we don't give them a better alternative for where to find the information. Like, as of right now, you kind of have to be a part of a community or have a mentor in order to get into the space, which is risky, incredibly risky, to like put your whole whatever net worth you have in crypto kind of under one person that you're trusting. Even if you're doing it yourself just through their methods. But yeah, we don't have those type of resources like college classes, like summer camps for kids, like textbooks and all of these things that, you know, all of these established courses have currently.
So I want to touch on that as well, because I feel like this is why I entered into the education in the Web3 world, is because, personally, when I got into the space, there was no like resource or no like, I don't want to use the word centralized authority, but it's really hard to find information, right? This space has a lot of technical complexities. And when you're looking up what is Web3, what's an NFT, I mean, you probably get even more confused, right? So I think a solution to this problem about education and about onboarding new people into the space is really curated, seamless experiences where people who are, interacting with NFTs or the Web3 space, they shouldn't even be thinking about it. They shouldn't even know that they're interacting with a blockchain or a virtual wallet or with cryptocurrencies. When you guys go on Instagram, all of us, me included, when we go on Instagram or the internet or any social media app, we're not considering how the back end works, right? We're not considering how each like or each comment is actually working. And I think that's the biggest challenge with Web3 now, is that people are so caught up in how do I interact with this wallet or how do I connect my wallet to this site, and you lose that excitement about what's really happening in the space.
Yeah, I feel like there's two lanes to that. So there's like the media and perception and us making like this whole new language around it, like so NFT or whatever, when it might be a loyalty stamp.
I think the jargon is the biggest problem,
Yes,
right? Because
yes.
that's what holds people back, is like, okay, you learn about Web3 and then you hear NFTs, then you hear DAOs, then you hear metaverse,
Yes.
and the list goes on, right? And I think because of that turns people off, and it makes it more challenging for people to kind of, it's a barrier to entry, right, at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
we need to fix that for sure.
I think that would like the streamline stuff, but then also you got to think about like what I like about the space in general, like for those for 2014, 2017, is like the democratization of money. So it's like these are like, so, if you're a collector, then these assets become pricey, and now you're connecting your like wallet with your money to the internet. So it's like in some ways I love the tech because it will be, like you say, like seems like I don't need to know why when I send you a WhatsApp and it's got the 2 checks, I know you read it. I don't know how it did the thing. And neither do we, most people, I think, for like loyalty and some of those things. But I love your opinion too, and I'm sure people out here think that too. Like, but then there's the piece of like, okay, if I want to get the thing, then I've got to do like 17 steps and then talk to them in the Discord and trust this person and move something and
all the safety and security involved in that, which is just a crapshoot, to be honest. I mean, we have these big influencers who have tons of money invested in their security and how they process things, losing millions of dollars worth of assets, and it happens all the time. And not only is that terrify people who are on the outside looking in, and that's probably the only news that they're hearing about NFTs is like, oh, somebody lost $16 million today on something I don't even understand. But it also makes it like there's just too many steps for the average human being to keep their stuff safe. Like I heard the guys from Ledger doing a panel once, and he said, if self-custody doesn't terrify you, you're not doing it right. And that's so true, but it should not be that way.
Yeah, and to this point, like, beyond the jargon, I think a big aspect of Web3 is personal responsibility. And I think, to your guys' point, that's also another barrier to entry, because it's like, if you've never interacted with the blockchain and you're using a MetaMask wallet, you make one wrong click. That's all it takes. One really small click. I mean, you could get in a lot of trouble with your own stuff. So I think the personal responsibility aspect of it is also challenging, because we're not at a point yet where it's super easy and very clear to users, especially new ones who are not familiar with this stuff, as to how to interact with all these things.
Yeah. And at this point, education will be a lot less important, because you'll need to know like 10 things versus 10,000 things on just doing one transaction.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting, because it's like, it depends on which road and which way you're going down, because it's like, I love decentralization, but then that really puts complete responsibility on yourself. So we were talking in the backstage, in the other room, and I was saying, I don't click on anybody's links, and I love your story. So I think you're joking, but maybe not.
I was saying my cable company could be telling me that they're turning my internet off. I'll wait until my internet goes off, because I'm not clicking that link. I don't care if it's not even on the same computer as my wallets. Like, I will just wait until my internet goes off. I know I paid the bill.
Yeah, I love that, because it's true. I said, I stopped clicking like links that people send me when it could be legit or whatever, because I'm so paranoid, because of all those other things. And I, like, the last 3 years at this conference, I spoke on the mass adoption stage, and I would say, like, UI and our jargon is the barrier?
Oh, I want to touch on this so
Go
badly.
ahead. Go for it.
This is the biggest thing about the Web3 space right now is the UI and the UX. Like with any platform that you interact with, you know, even as something as simple as OpenSea, which is an NFT marketplace, but the UI and the UX of the space is so bad right now. It's almost as bad as like the creation of the internet itself, and I think this is so bad and like this is the biggest challenge in the space. I had a podcast earlier this week, and that's all we talked about, that if any business or company that is entering into the Web3 space wants to be successful, the key is a seamless and easy user experience and user interface. The user should not even know that let's say it's a game, okay? It's an NFT game online, it's a soccer game, each character is an NFT. The people who are interacting with that shouldn't even know that that character is on the blockchain. They should just be able to trade it, sell it, using it as simple as they can. And I think another platform called like Topmin or something like that, they let users just enter their email and a simple password, and now they have an NFT wallet. They can sell and trade NFTs, and they're interacting on the blockchain. But the user who has never interacted on the blockchain, they can do that because all they're doing is they're putting their email there. They've done that hundreds of thousands of times before. So this is something I'm extremely passionate about because, you know, we all have experienced this most likely, you know, just trying to interact with the Web3 space or, you know, bridging tokens or buying things. And it's horrible. The experience is horrible, even for people like us who are in the space and who are doing these on a day-to-day basis, you know. So if that once that gets fixed, I think we will have mass adoption. And I think for that to get fixed is going to take some big players. Unfortunately, you know, centralized figures like Apple or Google who allow you to go on the App Store, buy an app, and that app is completely Web3 based, but you don't even think about that. That is when mass adoption will occur.
That's true. That like helps because it's just like I'm like losing my train of thought for a second, but it's like all of that is such a good point because I thought about while you were talking, it's like that same rabbit hole. It's like it depends on which rabbit hole you go down, right? Like I remember my friend was working on Polkadot chain, so I'm like, oh, I want to get a Polkadot punk, and it was like learning MetaMask all over again on their chain, and then I was trying to switch some token around, and it was so many steps. I am surprised I actually finished it. It was like day and a half to get the one thing, and I'm in the space. So it's like the niche of the niche of the niche. But the one thing, like back to like where I work, like we have an app and then it's already a social metaverse, which is cool. And then we're introducing the stuff. So we're actually going about it the other way, which is why we were able to have like those really big numbers. And
Obviously works, right?
Yeah.
With those numbers. So
yeah,
you guys
the
are doing
numbers
something right.
Yeah, they're really great. And then part of it in the beginning too, we surveyed people. It was like, what do you think of digital collectibles? We love. What do you think of NFTs? Not so much. And it's like, well, it's the same thing, you know. Technically not, but kinda, you know.
Well,
so
even people who've been here for years can't tell you what fungible means.
yeah.
Like they can tell you an NFT is non-fungible token, but like, what does fungible actually mean? And you'll
Right.
get 10 different definitions. So like using a definition that requires another definition that's variable. It has nothing to do with the mushroom. That's all we know.
Go ahead. You were gonna say something.
I lost my train of thought.
I know, this is fun. Oh gosh, what was I gonna say? So we did talk a little bit. Can we talk a little bit about the metaverse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So like a year ago or so, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what is metaverse? I saw Ready Player One with my friend from NYU, and he's like, oh, and I'd always, somebody say metaverse, and I'd be like, talk to John. And I was doing a project then, and we were gonna be in the metaverse. I'm like, what does this even mean? Like, what's your definition of metaverse? What's your definition? And like now I think the definition would be like, if it's an avatar based and you can socialize or maybe even play. But once I built in Decentraland last year, you know this, and then I'm like, oh, I just have a building on a block, and now people, you know, need to show up. So that's it, you know. So it was so ethereal to me. So go ahead.
I would go like further on this. Like in my view, I guess the metaverse is really already has existed for many years. I mean, if anyone is familiar with playing any video game, that's technically a metaverse. It's really just a social platform or, a virtual world is what it is. It's genuinely just a virtual place that is paralleling like our real lives. And I think we're very far off from this concept and this idea we have of the metaverse, just because the tech is not there, the adoption is not there. But when you go on Instagram, that's a metaverse. You're interacting virtually. It's an online virtual space where you're able to post pictures, you're able to communicate with people, and you're able to have interactions in a virtual way that parallel the same interactions you would have in person, So, yeah.
I would call these all universes and not metaverses personally. I think we're far off from being metaverses where we have, the interoperability and you can walk from one world to another wearing your skins from Fortnite and going into this game and this game. And that's what people talk about, and that's what we're really aiming for. But yet we see these little worlds that are all totally separate from each other. So I'm really excited to see, even Yuga is creating standards for their 3D assets, which other projects will be able to use for free. And then you can build on what will be probably the first actual metaverse.
Yeah, you told me about that, and I was like, okay, well, that I get that. So I always I'm such an old timer. I compare this back to Web 1. So a couple years ago on the stage about mass adoption, I said we were in the AOL CD-ROM phase, and now
we still are. Just to be clear, I in my opinion, we still are.
That's amazing. So now I think, but not. I feel like I worked at weather.com back then. I remember taking my first laptop home and the whole thing but then after that I went to work at a search engine and Google wasn't out yet. And so there's Lycos, InfoSeek where I worked, Ask Jeeves, Yahoo, all competing. And I feel like we're kind of there, but
sure.
But Google hasn't come out yet. You have no idea. And I'm not saying that there's going to be a Google of the metaverse, Yuga maybe. But what I do remember from back in that time, I sold digital ads, is each website we got together, there was the Internet Advertising Bureau that standardized ad sizes. And so it was as simple as that to have interoperability for advertising across the web. I feel so old while I'm talking about this. And those are still some of the ad sizes we use today. And this was in 95 or 6. And so there is a group, I'm going to the happy hour tonight for Metaverse to talk about this stuff, but I've been informed, because I'm not the techie person, that it's very hard to have interoperability. Yeah. And so
I have a good explanation on what you're discussing.
Please.
So if we look at ChatGPT, and if you haven't used it, it's an AI chatbot. This just came out a couple months ago. It just blew up out of nowhere. Nobody knew what this thing was before. Nobody even probably understands how it works still. I definitely do not. But when it came out, the reason it blew up, and by the way, it was the fastest growing platform in the entire history of the internet. And the reason that is because you go on ChatGPT, you put your question in, and you get exactly what you want. You don't know how it works. There are no barriers to it. You literally just put an input, and it gives you the exact output you want.
It's kind of like how boomers think Google should work.
Well, that's how the reason I bring this up is because that's how Web3 needs to be. Is that you're using it, and you put your input and you get the output that you want. And that's why the ChatGPT did so well, is because it's such a seamless experience. I was thinking about this earlier today. It's just so easy to use, and it's so amazing. You don't have to think about the AI side of it. It's fascinating, and if you're curious about it, you can learn all about it. But the normal person does not have the time or want to commit the energy to do that, right? And it's very similar with the Web3 space. It needs to be this seamless, easy experience in any interaction you do, if it's the metaverse, if it's buying NFTs, crypto, whatever the thing is. But I think ChatGPT is a perfect example of what I mean by a seamless experience. If you guys haven't used it, definitely check it out. It's super easy. You log in through your Google account or whatever other Microsoft, whatever, and in 2 seconds, you're using AI. You're not thinking about that, though. You're just using it, and that's how it has to be with all of this stuff that we're discussing in Web3. So, yeah.
that's okay, is that going to be Web 4?
Web 17?
Yeah. This is why I like the term Web 3. I was saying back to so I used to teach at NYU media relations, present and future. And a lot of the stuff that goes across the headlines are why sometimes, people say oh, NFTs or crypto or that. I was I love Web 3 because it sounds inevitable and it doesn't have the media stink as these other things, right, that are clickbait, right? So it becomes interesting in that way. So then it's it's inevitable. This is the way. But I mean, there's obviously a distinction because we're talking about self-custody of our assets and things like that, where the chat thing and the AI, what I found most interesting, and maybe you can comment on it, but like I'm going like sidelines on this, is like how Elon and like Wozniak signed that like we're going to stop developing this.
I think Amazon just announced yesterday, like last night or this morning, that they just released their competitor to ChatGPT. So everybody's doing it, and once that happens to the Web3 space, that's why mass adoption will be so much quicker, because you have players like Amazon or Microsoft, and they make it so easy for everybody. That's what we need in this space.
Well, and I really think AI is going to be what brings us to like a safer, secure blockchain for people, because you can have these AI bots scanning and warning you like, hey, the last person that interacted with this contract got their wallet drained. You could get a pop-up.
And it takes that personal responsibility off of that individual's shoulders, right? Making it super easy, making them want to interact with it, and just having a good experience with it. So
that makes a lot of sense. The other thing I just think even like generational, like say even myself or whatever, like we're in, say, that early AOL search engine, whatever phase. So it's just early. Like, and so we're trying to learn and grow and do and make things better, smarter, faster, like, and geek out, right? And, you know, we'll have better UI, lingo, all of that. And then we'll have also like another generation of kids that are going to be, you know, there's the digital native kids, you know, now that are, you know, probably your age, right? And then it's like we're gonna have the NFT native generation that's like, oh, they might know the lingo or not, it doesn't matter, or it might be the next thing.
Because it'll be so natural for them.
It'll be natural for them.
So I have a younger brother, he loves video games, and that's actually like what clicked for me about the Web3 space is like when you grow up on this stuff and you're using it every day, you're not thinking about it. Like a digital asset is so natural to you when you're playing Fortnite and you spend real money to buy this little digital skin that has no value in the real world. It has, you know, no meaning attached to it except what that individual puts to it. You know, I think in the next couple of years, as these kids get older and become adults, it's going to be a really good time for the space because it's all so natural to them. For us, we're all still learning. I mean, I'm pretty young too, but I'm still learning a lot of this. Like, you know, even though I educate on the space, there's so much to understand, and it's kind of hard to comprehend since all this stuff is intangible. Like, you can't touch it, right? But I think the biggest thing is once you understand everything happening in the Web3 space is just trying to parallel our virtual lives to our real lives and doing that in a way more realistic way. So, yeah. I could keep going, but
no. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think we've got 1 minute left here. So if you have any final thoughts or just want to give people your handle or how to contact you.
Yeah, so I'm a Web3_ready on Twitter. I will be doing a big short form content release starting on Monday. Going to be doing it on all channels, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. The handle will be Web3_ready, and it'll just be basic education, short, bite-sized, easily digestible clips explaining all this stuff in the Web3 space and also in the AI space. So yeah.
I am NFTignition. I am only on Twitter. I don't have time for 10 social media platforms.
Love you.
I don't know how people do it. Follow me if you're interested in AI. I do post daily prompt crafts that you can try with ChatGPT. You could literally just copy and paste it in there and test new ways to kind of use the platform, finding ways to kind of push the boundaries with those tweets, and tons of educational content.
Amazing. You guys can either reach me via LinkedIn, my name up there, or I would love for you all to try IMVU. It's an app. And we just launched yesterday, Nadia from Pussy Riot, her Pink Church of Feminism. And so it's live on the app, and we did a live party, and we're going to be doing an NFT drop tomorrow. And it would be amazing to have you all there.
Yeah, thank you for everybody coming. This was a great room.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you.
Thanks, guys.